missed it. Hey, I'm Don Niemeyer. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Shelley Jones from the Post Tribune. I just wanted to make sure I knew who you guys are with the placard. So, which one of you is
Your live, sir. I'm being a little bit, but just
I got it.
record stuff when you're done. I'll do it.
Muskie?
Correct.
Thank you. And how do you spell your first name?
Mark.
C-R-A-I-G.
C-R-A-I-G. It's not on here. Oh, and what's your first name?
Guy.
Guy.
Just like it sounds.
And do you want to have a title with the board, like vice president?
Talk to the chairman about it. Who's the chairman?
But you did not come in any elections. Chairmanship, correct? You guys didn't do any.
No, I was the vice chair previously. And we're going to be reorganizing the board here.
Are we ready? Ready? Robbie, ready?
Go ahead, sorry.
We're going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to ask everyone to stand for a moment of silence and then our Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to be having a moment of silence for Linda Eisenhower, who is a Winfield board member. She passed away recently, so out of respect for her, we're going to have a moment of silence and then do the pledge. And may she rest in peace. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a roll call of the members. Mr. Clower?
Here.
Mr. Kosmowski?
Here.
Mr. Niemeyer?
Here.
Mr. Rabelhofer?
Here.
Mr. Wizawati, present. We have a quorum. This time, we'll do the reorganization of the board, and we'll entertain nominations for chairman.
Nominate you for chairman.
We have a nomination for myself as chairman.
A second.
Any other nominations for chairman? And third time, any nominations for chairman? Nominations for chairman are now closed. We'll have nominations for vice chair.
I nominate myself.
We have a nomination for Rob.
I'll nominate Craig Clower.
Craig Clower, nominated for vice chair. Any other nominations for vice chair? Going third and final time, any other nominations for vice chair? This time, we will have a vote on the two candidates. All those in favor of Rob Rabelhofer, say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of Mr. Clower, say aye.
Aye.
It's 4-1. We have nominations for the office of secretary.
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate myself.
We have Mr. Niemeyer, nomination for secretary. Any other nominations? Final time, any other nominations for secretary? Thank you. Any nominations for treasurer?
Nominate Guy.
I'm sorry,
Nominate Guy for treasurer.
Mr. Kosmowski. Any other nominations for treasurer? Going third and final time, any other nominations for treasurer? Nominations are now closed. Have a vote for the election of chairman, secretary, and treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to public comment. I have a list of those who have signed in for public comment. Each member will be allowed an opportunity to speak for up to 2 minutes, may not engage in name calling, debate, counter replies, or rebuttals. Public comment should be limited to the business of the West Porter Township Fire District. Public comment will be limited to 20 minutes and can be extended if need be. First one on here we have, is it Virgine Johnson? Yes. If you'd come up, there's a microphone up here. I know, but we're actually live streaming it, so people may not be able to hear it.
I just had a question. Looking at the crowd, it's a nice attendance, but nowhere near the amount of residents in the West Porter Fire District. So my question is, when will letters go out to all the residents?
Is that all you have?
Yes.
And can I just get a clarification? The letters you're referring to would be with respect to the territory?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Friends that live outside the Four Seasons aren't even aware of this at all.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, good question.
Thank you.
I'm going to answer all the questions at the end. Thank you. So the next one is Stephanie Tank.
I've got several questions. The first one, I guess, is a concern that West Porter ambulance service may change for us. And I live like 2 blocks from the fire station now, and to wait 20 minutes is going to be critical. I'm getting up there in years, and it's not the best for me. So that's a concern I have. Another one is, wondered why the meeting tonight was changed to this place instead of having it where more West Porter people can attend. And then also, I agree with what Georgine said about getting information out to people. It's critical at this point. I don't feel that anybody's made an effort to get it out, the word out to, what's going on. And then I was wondering, is this eventually going to end up on the ballot in November for us to vote on, or how are you going to deal with this?
All right, thank you. We have Greg.
I'm Greg Koshale. I'm one of the original 5 that established the West Porter Township Fire District. I also was chairman of the fire district for 3 years. My concern is why this meeting is moved here. You people, unless it's changed, were appointed by the commissioners to represent the people in the West Township Fire District. And we were required to live within the fire district in order to be part of that. But we also took the responsibility to hold the meetings in the fire district. Now that has limited possibilities because you need a facility. The fire station that I was heading up when it was built for the fire district has a meeting room. That was one of the concerns when it was built. But you also have 2 churches. The difference with the churches is they're at each opposite ends of the fire district, where the fire station is pretty close to being in the middle. Why should you be putting the responsibility to come up here that's away from it, away from the people that you're representing? I don't think it's right, and I think you ought to consider what you've been appointed and what you took the responsibility for.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Scott, is it Aubrey?
I have to agree. You guys need to move this back to our district. It's upsetting that I have to come out here tonight. I'm not sure why we do. I suppose it has something to do with, we'll let that be. Needs to be moved back to our place. It's very concerning what's going on here. Very concerning. I don't appreciate anything that has been done here so far by the fire board. Let me make that clear. Foremost, let me make that clear. So what I want to know from each individual up here, in the Indiana Code 36-8-11-12, Section B, the trustee must be qualified by knowledge and experience in matters pertaining to fire protection and related to activities in the district. I want to know from each and every one of you.
I'm going to have to, we're not going to be entertaining going back and forth with that. If you're talking about respective appointments, those appointments are made by the commissioners, not by this board.
I expected that answer. You know what that is? That's a bad answer.
Well, that's the truth.
Well,
We're done.
And then-
Your time's expired.
okay. Our trustee won't be a trustee no more. How about that? Probably you won't be.
Jason?
I think most of my questions have already been addressed. I won't harp on those. But I do see that you guys have a resolution for adopting establishing rules and policies for public comment. Is that something changing going forth from what you just laid out for this? Or is it something to be limited or changed to extend and go about those routes?
Is it Abe? There we go.
It's Abe Paluk. I believe it's in the best interest of all these people that we have a fire territory with Winfield Township and Winfield Town. And I'd like to know if we could have a show of hands of all the people here who are in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Irvin?
My question was already answered.
All right. Moving on, Kelly Hartman. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at public comment?
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dave Witt. I live down in West Porter Township, so I'm in the district. My history is strong law enforcement, although I'm an attorney now. I spent many years as a police officer and many years as a helicopter flight medic in the United States Army. When I was on the county council for 16 years, sitting right there, my talk of fire territories were that the conversation should start and it should end with improving public safety. It's response times, it's equipment, it's staffing. I've been a first responder. Seconds are like hours, and they mean the difference between life and death. I've been coming to these meetings, I've been watching what's going on, I've been hearing about some of the meetings outside of these meetings. The fact of the matter is, this is not a political issue. This is not a political football, because the lives of these people mean more than that. The fact that this has taken this long is rather mind-boggling, frankly. We've been talking about fire territories for a long time. It's time to get this done. It's time to get our stuff together. All other things remaining equal, anything beyond response time and improving public safety is white noise. It's static. It's political nonsense. I'm for fire territories. I've been asked by a lot of folks where I stand on that because I'm running for commissioner. I'm for them. I'm for them. I've been for them from the start because it's life or death. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, public comment? If you would come up. If you would state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Kimberly, last name is Nix. I'm a resident of the Four Seasons, and my question is regarding House Bill 1373. My understanding from that is that ambulance service, including emergency and non-emergency services, are required for compliance. So if there is not a fire territory, how will the fire board establish compliance to that regulation and that House bill?
Thank you. There was another gentleman.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. My name is Craig Engel. I have been a resident of Lakes of the Four Seasons for the past 6 years. I'm a veteran. I'm a trained firefighter, paramedic, EMT. I was also a medic in the Navy. I'm addressing all of you as my fellow constituents. I agree with everything that Mr. Witten said. This should not be a partisan issue. This is a nonpartisan issue. I mean, take a look around the room. Every single one of us, we're getting closer to the end. And there's going to come a time for all of us when it's either us or our loved ones, someone near to us, who is going to have an emergency. A lot of the talk that's been banding about is the issue of taxes, which I'm sure we're all sensitive to. However, when it comes to life and death, I've seen this. When you go out on a call as a medic and you go to somebody's house and a loved one is in dire straits, injured, near death, whatever, the idea that a small incremental tax increase is somehow a non-starter for helping our loved ones and our families in their worst possible moments. I've seen this as a medic. When we go out, we are seeing people at their worst possible moments. And I will tell you that in that moment, nobody's thinking about the extra couple $100s a year in taxes. They're thinking about, I would pay anything to save the life of my spouse or my child or my relative or whatever it is. The same thing when it comes to fire protection. The West Porter Fire Protection District has a couple of full-time people working for it, which is great, but it relies on volunteerism, which has gone down considerably in the past several years. And we all know what's happening to this area, right? We are growing exponentially without a correlating increase in EMS and fire protection. This issue has to be taken care of pronto. We cannot kick the can down the road any longer. The time is now to fix this. We had, earlier in the year, a plan put in place that was very doable for everybody and would have ensured that we all had the kind of professional fire and EMS protection that we all desperately need. It was shot down. Now, I'm not going to speculate. I speculate on my own. I'm not going to speculate to all of you about why this happened, but I will say this. If things do not change for the better for our community, starting today, we all have the power to make changes. There is an election coming up. If you do not agree with the way things are going, you all have the power to make a change. Vote accordingly. Vote based on what you want for your family, what's good for your family, what's good for the community, and for what's the person next to you. As a veteran, I was in the special forces when I was in the military. It was always about the guy next to you. It's about our neighborhoods. It's about the people that we care about. It's about the people that we love. If we cannot have basic EMS and fire service staffed by professionals, we are not achieving the rudimentary level of having a civilized town or organization with what we're doing here. So please, if things are not progressing as you feel they should, vote for progress, vote for change. Thanks, everybody.
there any other public comment at this time? All right, this time we will close public comment. I would like to respond to some of the comments that were made with respect to letters. We did get pricing for a series of 3 mailers to go out to every single resident within the district. We've got the cost on those. We're waiting on cost for printing, and we will make sure that those do go out with respect to getting the announcement out to the public about the public hearings that would be upcoming after January 1st. We will do all we can to make sure that every single resident in the district is reached. We will make sure that that happens. We will make sure that, we reach out as much as we can and make things available to the public so they know what's going on. So that way they can understand the decisions that we're going to be making. With respect to the ambulance change, I know Stephanie had brought something up. It won't be on the ballot initiative in November. That's not where I think we're heading. I think we're heading toward establishing a territory. I think that's where kind of our focus is. There's not going to be any changes, with respect to the ambulance service that's provided currently. Agreement, I got that, okay. As for the policies and for the public comment policies are the same that we have here today. So there's no change, on that with respect to that. I'd like to thank the folks that did come out and make some comments. I did let him go over just a little bit, but it was just out of courtesy to him. So I really want to thank everyone for coming. First, I'd like to address why the majority of the board felt it necessary to move the venue for this meeting. This was done by consensus through phone calls with the majority of the members. I knew the opinion of one of the members already. I respect his opinion with respect to keeping the meeting at that location, and he respectfully voiced his opinion. It's been abundantly clear that there has been an orchestrated, ongoing, and deliberate concerted effort to incite and scare residents with false and wrong information regarding fire protection for West Porter Township Fire Protection District, pitting individuals and others, and playing politics and games on social media, including name-calling to stir passions and create what one of our board members, our former board members, called a mob mentality. We will continue to hold our meetings here until a civil tone and decorum is restored. Changing our venue had absolutely nothing to do with the personnel of the Lakes of the Four Seasons Fire Force, whom we encourage to attend our meetings as well as those in Winfield Township and the town of Winfield. These are our partners in the success of what we hope will become a fire territory. We hope that there is equal enthusiasm to attend those meetings as well. The fact is that this board is here to conduct business of the district. We will respect one another, and we will maintain a civil and orderly tone during our meetings. There has been so much misinformation and back and forth on social media, it has been shamefully stunning. Let me make this really clear. Per the Four Seasons Fire Force official website, and I'm quoting, the West Porter Township Fire Protection District, per Indiana Code 36-8-12-16, contracts with the Lake of the Four Seasons Volunteer Fire Force to provide fire protection only. They do also provide to the residents of West Porter Township ambulance service. Over the last years, through past practices and additional funding considerations, they have, as I said, provided ambulance services to the residents of our district, including the Porter County side of Four Seasons. Additionally, Porter County provides ambulance service through Northwest Health, EMS, providing residents with double coverage. Residents of West Porter Township Fire Protection District, which includes nearly 8 square miles, 1,200 families in Lake of the Four Seasons and 1,160 outside the Lake of the Four Seasons, will continue to get fire protection service. Residents will continue to receive EMS services as well. We have been receiving through Lakes of the Four Seasons Fire Force, as I said, and Northwest Indiana Health, as well as through mutual aid when needed. Everyone on this board, bar none, support a fire territory, period. Let me repeat that. Everyone up here on this board supports a fire territory. We hope that during the next several months, we can continue to work together with the other two entities, the town of Winfield and Winfield Township, to begin the formation of this territory in 2025, which will not happen until July 1st of next year. We are not here to address individual members' qualifications or attack one another on this board because one doesn't feel that they're qualified. That's not what we're here to do. Each of the members has been approved by the consent and vote of the Board of Commissioners, and we will work together with each of them. I respect each of these individuals sitting up here, and I look forward to working with them on this board. For those who are unable to attend, this meeting is being live streamed for the first time ever. We are not capable of doing that at the fire station, nor do we have any of the equipment to do so. This should provide a greater transparency in the decisions and actions of this board. I think we can all agree that this board has a lot of work to do, and to discuss the change of venue for a meeting held once quarterly is honestly counterproductive. We have far too many larger matters that we need to deal with and get to work on. That's all I have. We will move on with the agenda. Item 6, approval of the minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the April 6th meeting, or excuse me, 9th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written. Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, a second, to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Minutes for the special meeting of April 24th, 2024. Entertain a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Treasurer's report.
Okay, so you gotta bear with me. It's gonna be a little weird, and I really don't have any guidance because I haven't really heard from anyone. We haven't really had much in the line of bills since our last April meeting. The only thing that was outstanding, if I remember correctly, was the bond issue for me as the treasurer, which we're gonna have to pay again now because we have a new treasurer. We had approved up to $250 for that. It was only $100. So I did this nice form last time where it broke down our general fund and our cum fund. I really can't do that because I don't have any guidance as to what to do. Because in June, we received 2 deposits. Porter County Treasurer CCD payment of $170,785.66. And then another one for $93, and then our monthly interest payment, which $122.74, that's normal. Looking back through financial records from previous years, that $170, $785, and that $93 got split between the general fund and cum fund. It wasn't a 50% split, so I don't know how to lay it out for everyone to present here. So I will give you the total and then tell you that the balance sheet is good. But total on hand right now, we have $621,850.70. With the June interest that we got, the $122.74, not the $170,000, because I can't figure out how much to put into here. The general fund is at $146,565.94. And the cum fund is at, give me a second, sorry, thought I had it pulled up. $304,406.10. Now again, that does not reflect the $170, $785.66, and the $93, because I don't know how it gets dispersed between the two funds. But the total number, the $621,850.70, is valid.
Hey, Rob, and those things don't they get deposited in a different, is it just one account?
We have one account. We separate it on we separate it, but we have one checking account with First Source Bank.
Only one deposit?
There's one deposit, and I looked back at previous years, and for the life of me, cannot figure out, was it a percentage? Are we supposed to find this out from the county? I have no clue. So,
Just with respect to that, there is a Form 22 which is issued, which we should have gotten, the Form 22. I know that we got the data the other day on the split for the breakdown for the tax allotment for the CUME fund and the general fund.
you have that?
We just got that.
Okay. Because, again,
I asked the same question, and it's on the Form 22.
okay, great, because the handover from the old treasurer that most of you are aware was not very efficient, so I've been learning on the fly, and now somebody else gets to learn, so. But the numbers are right. I will admit that the balance sheet from what the bank says to what I have, and that money is right. We're just gonna have to figure out how it disperses amongst those two accounts that we track. The one account, the two versions of tracking it. I'm sorry, guys. It's super frustrating to work on today, so. I have nothing else. Thank you.
Rob, thank you for all that you have done over the past several months. It is appreciated.
No problem.
Brings us to the accounts payable vouchers. Entertain a motion to approve the 2024 quarterly payment to Lake of the Four Seasons Volunteer Fire Force for $38,750 out of our general fund.
Motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carried. We have a payment, the payment was made, but we need to take the formal action on it just so it's a matter of record. There was some confusion on whether that was approved or not at the last meeting, but it really doesn't matter. It needs to get approved formally. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the payment to Kevin Mish for the 2024 contract for maintenance expenses, $4,819 out of our CUME fund.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Can we have discussion on that? Sir?
Yes.
Okay. I do have the receipt. I was able to locate it. Chief Harima here? Well, okay, you can probably, when your time comes up, but I believe this was an overage. This was part of the project that they didn't know how bad it was till they got into it, so there was an additional, so it was beyond what we had already approved. We paid this. I thought we took action on it, but maybe we didn't. We paid this, when I read 4/9 of 24. Same time we paid the other one, I believe, same date.
Yeah, I know, and I was actually talking to Craig on that, and he did say that, because you had mentioned to me that we did approve it, but
right.
I know he brought up the fact that there was something discussed about a second part of that, but I don't think it ever got approved formally, but.
Okay, and maybe it didn't. I can't remember for the life of me now, but we approved both of those out of the CUME fund, but we found out in Carrie's short tenure, I thought it was Carrie that brought it up, that actually has to come out of general fund. So if that's the case, we have to appropriate from general back to CUME to pay that money back, because CUME can only be used to pay for equipment from what I found out.
I'm going to ask.
What was the expense for? Remind me.
It was, well, it was maintenance, yeah. It was
property maintenance.
It was retention pond,
Yes,
clean out,
we should
overflow.
do an additional for the general fund in that amount.
So if you could withdraw your motion and just say for the general fund.
Okay, but
I know it was written that way. But
yeah, I know, it's all the same account.
we just need to make sure it's clarified that it's specific to the general fund.
Okay, do you want me to withdraw my motion or amend my motion?
I would amend your motion.
Okay, I will amend my motion to pay the Mish overflow tower bill for $4,819 out of the general fund.
Second.
Who seconded the original motion?
So I made the motion originally.
Would you amend your motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, then,
That's- okay.
my mistake.
And then Rob, you're going to second it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And the emotion,
All right. Just so we have that on.
I got confused.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
That,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
sorry, with that, we paid the retention pond clean out, the original work, the $6,890 out of CUME too. So do we have to do a special appropriation for that, or can we do a vote now and just modify that?
Modify.
So I'm literally just gonna move these lines off the balance sheets from one to the other?
Yes.
All right. So I make a motion that the April 9th payment to Kevin Mish, $6,890 that was originally paid out of CUME, be modified to be paid out of general fund.
second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Need a motion to approve payment to Valparaiso First Insurance for the bond for $100 out of the general fund.
I'll make the motion. Sorry.
You have a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Porter County Sheriff Personnel, amount not to exceed $150. I'm going to remove that from the agenda if we can. Brings us to new business. Consider a motion to authorize the application for the treasurer's surety bond in an amount not to exceed $250. Need a motion?
Motion.
You have a second?
Second.
Was it a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
It should probably be less than that because we're already into the calendar year. And they switched us from who we used to have, so.
Yeah. So the board has before it, under item 9B, consideration of the professional services agreement with Senator Dalton. You got a copy of that in your packet as well. Ask for a motion to approve. Danny, if you want to discuss any of the particulars, if there's any questions or comments, but I need a motion first.
So,
Have a second?
second.
There you go.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Danny, you want to just kind of give a quick summary?
Sure. So thank you for entertaining this proposal from our municipal advising firm. We will help assist you with budgeting, with financial management, with bank reconciliations, with anything that you ask of us. And so with that, if there are questions regarding what we can help you out with regarding financial management, please let me know.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. So bring up the next item, which is consider recommendation to the Porter County Council. Before you, you have copies of the, one's the general fund, one's the CUME fund, and Danny, you want to dive into this?
Sure. So a brief update on the 2025 budget proposal you have in front of you. Under the revenues for the general fund and the cumulative fire fund, we anticipate a 3% increase in our property tax levy. This percentage is calculated by the state each year, and it includes an annual growth factor that takes into account changes in assessed value, inflation, new construction, improvement, anything that could add to revenue growth. And so this calculation is a 3-year average, the last 3 years, that basically says West Porter Fire Protection District gets a 3%. They can ask for 3% levy growth. All other revenues, such as commercial excise taxes, financial institution taxes, things like that, we are anticipating staying stable for next year. No increase, no decrease. Under the expenditures, we are proposing a budget of $199,270 for the general fund, the general fire fund, and $96,437 for the cumulative fire fund. So this amounts to roughly a 4% increase in the budget from last year, or for this current budget year, 2024 compared to 2025. And this falls in line with standard increases in cost of living expenses and cost of goods and services that inflate over time. So 4% is a pretty standard increase. Because this budget proposed is fundable and sustainable by the district, it is our recommendation that it be reviewed and then a positive recommendation be given to the Porter County Council for approval. So if there are any further questions on this, I'd be happy to dive into the details.
So this time, are you asking the board to provide a favorable recommendation or to?
No. This is just to review. There's no action necessary. Just for review right now.
Just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments of the board? Okay, thank you, Danny. We're going to move on then. So we need to consider the motion to authorize the chairman and vice chair to engage negotiations for terms for our annual contract renewal. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
You have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying.
Discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Why just the chair and the vice chair? How are those two picked to engage in the contract negotiations?
It's pretty much what we did at the beginning of the year.
Right,
We'll bring the contract back to the full board.
right. So here's my thought, and I will speak a little bit about experience. Given my experience in the fire service and my background and knowledge, I think that I would be an asset in those negotiations. So I would suggest that maybe we have me sit in with one of those two parties and assist with those negotiations. I'm willing to spend the time and do it. I don't have a board officer position, so this could be my way of giving back and helping the team.
Any other discussion? All right. That being said, entertain that we've got a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay, or aye, sorry.
Motion carried. Consider a motion to authorize the chairman and board secretary to engage negotiations and establish meeting dates with the town of Winfield, Winfield Township, for the purposes of establishing a fire territory. The chair will entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
I'll happily start again unless there was other discussion, sorry. I would happily take one of those two positions also, again, given my background as a 25-year career firefighter. I think that would be important to have in those meetings, at least to get things started, because there's going to be some factors that others may not be aware of that impact the fire department, the fire service, and what we do. So I think my experience would be beneficial.
Yeah, and I would agree, and this is for the initial meeting. We will have a rotation of the board members. That was discussed at the previous meetings, and it was also discussed just preliminarily with both Cody and with Mr. Beavers. So we will be rotating the members of this board through that process.
Right.
Through the negotiations.
What gets me is engage and negotiate terms. That says that pretty clearly in there. So,
Well,
I mean, if we're just,
terms to establish basically the meeting dates and what we're going to be discussing, stuff like that. So we're not going to be setting budgets and stuff at this initial meeting, Rob, but to your point, I mean, what we're going to be doing is setting up the dates and then who's going to be coming to those meetings going forward, because there's going to be several series of meetings with the other two entities. So, I mean, we're definitely looking forward to, having your input on that as well.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
aye.
Motion carried 4-1. All right, the board has before it resolution number 2407-10, resolution adopting and establishing the rules and procedures, rules and policies for public comment. I entertain a motion to approve the resolution. We have a motion by Craig. Have a second?
A second.
Guy, second. All those, or any discussion on this?
Yes. So I've spoken in this room right there at that microphone a few times to the county commissioners. And some of the conversations probably were a little uncomfortable for them. I think the last time I was here, it was probably close to 35 minutes that I was going back and forth with them. They didn't limit me. They were willing to hear me out. They were willing to have that back and forth. I might not agree with a lot of what they said, but I do respect the fact that they let me sit here and ask my questions, get answers, and volley things back and forth with them. Commissioner Biggs made it very clear that he thinks there wasn't enough communication during the territory process last time, and I think this action will actually limit that communication even further. There's people that want to know things, and we're going to make it harder for them to know them. And I see in here that there's a total of 20 minutes. Well, if everybody gets 2 and I'm the 11th person in line, what happens? So I don't think this is a good move. I think given everything that we're going to be facing in the near future here potentially, we should have as much openness with the public as possible, especially as tumultuous as this board has been and as much as we've reset in the last year or two. I think we need to have an open dialogue and not limit it. So I'm an opponent to this. I'm sorry. Opponent to this. Sorry. That is all I have.
All right, thank you. So with respect to that, I'd like to speak to this. So this was basically adopting the changes that were approved by the state of Indiana effective January 1st of 2024. Now, we've already had, a couple people that went over the 2-minute line. I didn't bang the gavel and tell them they were out of order. I let them finish. I think we're being respectful of people who are getting speaking. It's not to disrespect anyone. It's just to keep things orderly, and that's what this is about. So, motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
The motion carried 4-1. I have a resolution, a resolution authorizing the signatories on the account for First Source Bank, Resolution 2024-07-10A. Entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Do you have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. None. Motion carried 5-0. The board has before it a resolution 2024-07-10B, a resolution authorizing and adopting an investment policy for the district. Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-07-10B.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Guy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Any questions or comments? Hearing. Do you want to go through the investment policy that we're going to be adopting? I mean, I'm familiar with it, but
Sure, yeah. I do not have a copy right in front of me, but the policy is basically a statement allowing the treasurer to make investments for the district. Now, this comes with approval by the board, each investment. And the gist of it is you can only invest a certain amount and for a certain number of years, and there's a cap to what you can invest into based on state statute. For example, one of our major investments options in the state of Indiana is called Indiana Trust, and you can put some money into that 5% rate back right now, and that's a pretty good option as it stands. So that's the gist of the policy. It allows the treasurer to make investments.
yeah, one of the things that I want the board and the public to be aware is that as it stands right now, we've earned a little over $1,000 in interest since the beginning of the year. Had we had these funds invested in this fungible investment, which is the Invest in Indiana, we would have made approximately $13,000 in interest. So it's a substantial amount more. The rate on that is at 5.33%. So it's an incredible rate. And it just makes sense for us to have the money there. It's not like getting a CD where it's tied up for 6 months. The Invest in Indiana Fund is basically a parking lot for, a governmental entity, municipality, township investment pool. And they pay a specific rate of return on those investments. So it's monitored and governed by the state. The risk on that is absolutely minimal, and it just makes sense. As opposed to getting like a CD where your money's tied up. It's completely, usable money. We could pull it out, a day after it's put in, and there's no penalty for that. So there's no real major risk to the district or any of the other entities that are involved with it. So they've got a lot of money invested in that pool. So it just makes sense for us to, have a policy in place before we begin investing and identifying the treasurer as the investment officer for the district. That's basically what our resolution does. Any questions or comments from the board on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. And the next one kind of rolls into this is the motion to consider and authorize direct the board treasurer to invest any unencumbered funds pursuant to the investment policy adopted. I would like to add the caveat that all of our expenses for the remainder of this year need to be considered when we invest those funds, just so that we have some liquid, funds in our bank account. Not that we can't wire the funds the next day, but it's just smart and prudent to have some funds available for that. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Craig. We have a second.
Second.
Guy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. At this time, we'll entertain the reports of Fire Chief, the Fire Department. Kevin?
Hello. The first question that I had for the report part was, I know you've gone through the whole agenda, but the engine payment that was submitted, is that going to get taken care of tonight?
As I had responded back with respect to the payment on the engine, we do have to review what needs to be done on that. We will let you know as soon as we figure that out.
Okay.
But
Because-
it needs to get done, absolutely.
Yeah, it was an issue last year.
Yeah.
I wanted
Well, we're not going to make that an issue this year, but
some
yeah.
history on that, and as you saw on the current pay stub, that cost us almost $1,500 because it was a month late.
Yeah.
So if we can get that done maybe in the next few weeks before it goes past due, that would be great.
Well, I'm hoping to have it done in the next few days here.
Okay.
So yeah.
So for, as far as call stats, since you last met in April, we had 143 total calls in April. 25 of those were in the district. 166 in May, 35 were in the district. 155 in June, 24 of those being in the district. This year to date, or as of July 1st, we're at 868 total calls for the year. That is up year over year by almost 200 calls. 82 of those are just in particular up year over year in the district. We had, as many of you probably have seen, quite a few fires in the last few months. There was 2 within a 24-hour timeline. One of those was within the district. A few stats on that particular one in the district. We had the benefit of having 4 of our volunteers in the station at the time of that dispatch, and they were on scene in 6 minutes with a fully staffed engine, compared to what would have been 15 to 20, easily. And the only reason they were there is because we already had another call, and they stayed back from an EMS call. And at the same time, we did not have a duty crew available. So if there would have been no one there, you're 20 to 30 minutes easily. But with that being said, they were on scene in 4 minutes. Almost the same type of statistical data for the same one that was within the 24 hours. The first one in your district was just after 10 p.m. The one in Winfield Township was just after 5 a.m. And we had 2 of our duty people on scene in 10 minutes from the time of dispatch. And unfortunately, that was very far gone through the garage already at that point, but they were able to make an exterior attack until the next engine came in roughly 11 minutes later. So you put those stats together, that's 21 minutes. 21 minutes for a volunteer response with an engine. If that would have been the case with no water there for 21 minutes, or those 2 people tied up on an EMS call, you're at 21 minutes with no water. And half that guy's house would have been gone. The next one that we had was June 1st. That was in the town. We were on scene in 7 minutes from the time of dispatch with a 3-minute en route time, and our other engine that came from the nearest station took 9 minutes to go en route, and they were on scene 3 minutes later. We also just had a recent fire where we were auto-aided to Boone Grove, right on State Road 2. We had one of our assistant chiefs there in 8 minutes, and our pumper tanker there in 16. Over the last year, obviously the call volume's gone up, and even this year, we're up almost 200 calls year over year. We've had a lot of times where we've had 3 to 4 calls going on at the same exact time. And the other point that I wanted to make about the EMS clarification, as Joe recited off of our website, there is a page that everyone can go to where it's basically meet your entities, essentially. Has their information listed, the commissioner's information listed, and the town and townships. Essentially for everyone that may not know exactly who they go to. But with that being clarified, in all legality, Northwest Health is your ambulance if you live within the district. Contractually, we are not obligated to provide you an ambulance. We do, but we're not contractually obligated to do that. Now, with that being said, you have to understand that if we're not available, it's going to take 15 to 25 minutes to get another ambulance. Your contracted ambulance is housed on State Road 8 between Hebron and Couts, if they're available. If they're available, and we have stats to prove it from recent calls, roughly 18 to 22 minutes, depending on where you live. If you're within kind of the middle of the seasons, I would say, in that area, you're probably looking a good 25 minutes. And that's on a good day, with no snow, no road conditions, no traffic, and we're usually 7 to 10 with being on scene as long as we're available. I did want to clarify that. I know we brought this up in the April meeting. We have been doing some more research on the pumper tanker. I know we talked about that in April, the 97 that's on the equipment schedule to get replaced. It was supposed to have been done this year. Clearly that's not happening. I don't have a price on that yet. I have an estimate, anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million.
Just for clarification, how far out are they on that for delivery?
Years. Yeah, easily 2 to 3 years. If you sign today, you won't see it for 2 to 3 years.
Right.
And unfortunately, the way that that truck is built, mainly specifically for the residents of the district and outside in the township and even the town where there's non-hydrogen, it carries 3,000 gallons of water and will pump at 1,500 gallons a minute. you definitely want all 3,000 of those gallons first, instead of working off of 500 or 1,000. And that was a custom-built truck for the department back in '97. It's still functioning, but that is the most expensive truck for us to maintain every single year. And it's showing its age. So that we are still working on. They are working on finalizing a spec. The one thing I did want to get that I've asked Cody for, and I think I've even had the conversation with Zach, about what the bid requirements will be, to get that sent out for bid for everybody involved. I'm hoping everybody will agree to fund a third and split it equally, because it's used equally, essentially. It's gonna go as long as it's available to either you guys, the township, or the town, wherever it's needed.
Just one more thing, can you guys get, through the state of Indiana? I don't know if, because they're a 501c3, I don't know if they can make application to the state.
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah, that's something we'll need to look at too. Because that, I mean, that's a very good point. You're 3 years out on this thing, so
Yeah.
what's that gonna look like, you know, if we were to finance it through the state? Because I know the state does have, you know, some decent terms.
I'd be happy to look into it.
We got lucky when we did the engine that's up for payment now.
Yeah.
It's only at like 3%, but we all know that those rates are probably long gone.
Oh, yeah.
So the other part that we touched on in April that is still pending are a FEMA grant that we went into with about 15 other departments in Lake and Porter County for radios. We are still in the running for that. We haven't been denied. I've had the conversation since April with Zach from the town and Cody from the township. We do have a matching portion of that, which is a 10% matching. The total grant would be just under $460,000, and that's for 35 portable radios. That's just over a cost of $13,000 a piece. The current ones that we have had an end of service life in 2023. So that's why we all were at the same point, department-wise, and we went in together and applied for it. Usually there's a pretty good return rate when people go in as groups. So we haven't been denied. That 10% would be roughly just under 46,000. And divided by 3, 15, 333 and some change.
How many radios are you talking? Or these are the portables, right? Okay.
35. And that's basically based off trucks and seats. So that's the most that we were allowed to get. So we're still in the running for that. That may be something we'd be coming to you guys for, possibly, if it goes through. So I'm hoping we know before October. But at this point, it's still pending. We had all the annual maintenance completed on all the trucks for the year. We did have some big ticket items, but everything's done.
Do you know the cost of that, Kevin?
The total, we budget a total of $60,000 a year for maintenance. We're pushing that.
Okay.
The township does help us out, where we can go back to them for like cum fund requests, and they usually pay, I believe their contribution is max at $30,000.
And that maintenance cost is just for trucks, or is that equipment as well?
Both.
Both.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
That's not counting the ambulances, right? Or that is?
that is. Those are usually on the cheaper end now that we've gotten rid of older ones. Our two newest ones are, the newest one is now a year old and the other one's 3 years old. The other one is a 15. So the most expensive is that pumper tanker. That is usually annually easily 15,000.
The biggest thing going on that?
just little things. It's just all little things that end up becoming a nickel and dime. There's a small leak here, there's another leak here, and then it turns into bigger things, unfortunately.
It is.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago when it was gone for about 3 months because they had to rebuild the whole air suspension in the rear end, and that was over $40,000 just by itself.
Borrowed that engine from St. John, wasn't it?
Yep. So that is definitely something that we need to get, hopefully, I was told that it should be back in about another month with a final quote for that. And then they said that they would send it out for a spec bid also. We did have 2 members enrolled in the fire academy. They graduated last month. Unfortunately, one of them just took a leave of absence already. We have 2 more that are starting class next week, and they won't graduate until December of '24. I know I emailed Joe a couple hours ago on this topic, but it was brought to me from our membership in the last couple days. So,
I got the letter from Mr. Viz. We did get that letter.
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna talk about the topic of the change in venue that most of the people have already
Oh, I understand.
touched on.
Yep.
About half of our roster lives within the district. The other half lives within the township. There's only literally 4 of us that are from the town. A lot of them wanted to come, but we can't leave everybody with, we can't leave the rest of our residents with nobody. Then that leaves us with just our duty crew. That's not fair to anyone. Granted, they can live stream it, but if they, I know some of them wanted to talk. Some of them have taken it personally that it was moved. I know you guys addressed that. I'm hoping that it will come back. Our doors are open. I know we talked about it a couple months ago. All we need is a schedule. We do have other people that use our room, so we need to accommodate for that. But other than that, it's open. If we get a crowd like this, we can move it into
The problem with the bays though, Kevin, is you can't hear the echo in the sound system. I mean, you'll agree with that, won't you?
Yeah.
It sucks.
Well,
Can we get a better sound system or something in there?
If you guys wanted to entertain getting some sort of speakers or something, we're open for that. Then at least we can get a lot more of us that take our time and volunteer it to come and participate. And I know they like listening. Granted, I know they can probably click on the link and watch here, but they were also taken back by only knowing Monday night, because everybody was basically planning to show up. And we had people lined up to set up chairs if we needed to, but then it was changed. So I hope that you guys reconsider that moving ahead. Because, I mean, essentially, I know the town exists for many different levels of services. The township does for very limited, but you guys solely exist for fire. I mean, and with as much as this board has changed in the last year, 8 people in literally a year, our membership does not know one of you. And that's another key factor in having, I hope, continuity going forward and having them support you guys as long as you guys support us. And I hope that that will grow, but it also makes it difficult when you guys can't all be together in the same room other than here and for a meeting. So I hope that will be considered to get changed moving forward. And then they can have the opportunity to see you guys and meet you before or after too. We did get the town and township contract completed for 25. To your point, Joe, we did send the letter. Hopefully we can meet towards the end of the month.
Yep.
And then work on that. for your contract?
Yeah, his schedule would be, I think, fine with me. I'm just waiting to hear back from Colby
Okay.
on his schedule.
We are going to, just so everybody else is clear on this as well, I know we touched on the EMS topic. Us as a department, we plan to engage the commissioners again. We've been unsuccessful, well, with at least a few of the probably 3 of the members, former members in the room, since 2010, I would say. We've been trying, at least on 5 or 6 different occasions, in reaching a contract agreement to provide EMS services from us to all the residents within the district. They do offer contracts to other agencies that touch in various areas throughout the county, but they have not offered one to us. So we do hope to engage in them, because if the territory does not happen again, you guys are still in the same boat with technically no contractual obligation to provide EMS from us. So we hope to work to change that, maybe for next year and the following year, to at least bridge some gap, and then get some more revenue to help offset the costs, because EMS is not cheap. And that's the bulk of our calls. I mean, that's at least 80% of our calls.
What is the average cost of a call for EMS?
Well, normally what we get reimbursed is Medicare or Medicaid.
$300.
Yeah, basically $300.
That's not the actual cost of the call, is it?
No.
I'm looking for.
Yeah, usually we budget just for one ambulance, about $450,000 a year. That's just for part-time staffing only. That's no benefits. That's no anything else. That's just for payroll to staff them, 2 people to be there. So we do get some reimbursement, but unfortunately, in the last few years, with the way the laws have changed, we can't even go after people for collections anymore because it doesn't go on their credit report. At least we had that, where we could collect something at the end if they decided not to pay. But unfortunately, we've seen some collections go away. We've still had success with others. But unfortunately, if you're not going to get penalized for it, there's really no repercussion from it. The bulk of what we do is a lot of Medicare. That's the people who are calling who need us. And like Joe mentioned, that's anywhere from $300 to $400.
$350.
Yeah.
For an average, call it $350.
Yep.
As an EMS unit, you're losing money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy, I'm sorry. Were you asking, and I'm kind of confused about the question, were you asking what he's able to recoup, or what it actually costs the fire department to go on that call the moment that?
What it actually costs, what are the real costs, not what they're getting reimbursed to go on a call?
Gotcha.
I think this came up, Robin, you and I discussed it, kind of came to an agreement at one of the previous meetings at the fire station that I threw a number out there based on the calls of EMS, it was like 1.5 million, and you were like, well, you're really close, but I think you came back and said it was 2 million a year.
I'm trying to recall, forgive me, because there have been more numbers that have run through my head in the last 6 months than I care to think about. I don't know. I don't know if that's an easy thing to quantify, Chief. And I'm trying to think, like, say just your standard boilerplate ambulance call. I've got chest pains, right? I called 911. 2 EMS personnel responded in an ambulance, transport that person to the hospital. I don't know how easy that is to figure out what that costs, soup to nuts. I mean,
It's hard to quantify.
it is. I mean, there's an hourly rate for the paid staff, let's say. There's equipment that's consumable, but some of that's replaced by the hospital, some is not.
Correct.
Just depends on what pieces of equipment you use.
So the way you would have to do it is basically take your total number of calls
And divide it.
Spaces.
Right.
That's a pig in a poke, really.
$2,000 a call?
Some require more than others.
It depends. What consumables did you use? I mean, is it all consumables that the ER stocks that they're going to go, well, here's your Band-Aid you used, or is it you worked a cardiac arrest and you have hundreds of dollars worth of medications you burn through and
Correct.
monitor pads and all these things that, yet I think Joe is correct in that you're going to have to just go, we run this many ambulance calls and this is what it costs, right? Maybe you can break down ALS or BLS, maybe, but that's about it. I think, I mean, unless you have a better way to quantify it.
80 to 90% of it is ALS.
Yeah. So the vast majority, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, the vast majority of it is.
So I'd say you'd have to, I mean, just my opinion is that you'd have to look at, we run X number of ambulance calls. This money was spent, so it's this much per call.
And I mean, the cost of just a ambulance now is roughly about 400,000.
Empty.
Empty.
That's not even a stretcher.
Correct. The stretcher and one of those fancy power load things that lifts the cot into the truck, that is almost standard. It does help save a lot of back injuries.
Mhm.
Long term, it's great. However, a cot and just one of those is now $80,000.
And if you get into a 7 mile per hour or more collision, that cot and that load system are garbage. Can't use it.
Garbage, yeah.
So a little fender bender in a parking lot and you just cost 80 grand.
Yeah.
So
You get money from regular insurance companies too, though, right?
Yes, but those are far and few between.
in accordance with Medicare, they typically pay.
Yeah.
They typically do not pay more than Medicare.
Yeah.
Medicare sort of sets the tone, right?
Can you not become a preferred provider?
You
Where
can
get more, or
you can get a little bit more, but say for a round number, say we bill $1,000 and you're a preferred provider. In order to be a preferred provider, you have to take a discount.
I get
So you may get to negotiate your contract for maybe $500. Usually it's, from what I've been told from our billing clerk who's been there for 25 years, she said you're better off to not negotiate and try to get as much as you can from the company instead of doing an agreement, because you usually end up taking less, unfortunately. And I take her expert opinion on that because she's been a coder for 25 years.
What are other departments doing with respect to the billing for private insurance? Medicare is Medicare. I get that.
Mainly, a lot of the different departments are outsourcing it. We have. In the last 5 years, we started doing that because we had to take out another additional insurance policy because, again, a law changed that was not to our benefit. And the insurance policy for that was astronomical. For us to be able to do it in-house, to have her continue to do it, you had to be basically self-insured to say you were going to take all the liability if you coded something wrong. Mm-hmm. And we said at that point, all right, well, we have to look to outsource it. And that's what we ended up doing.
Well, what I'm saying is are they accepting, contracts with different insurance carriers, or are they basically the same situation that you're in?
So with doing the outsourcing, that's helped a little bit, where it's more of a bulk deal, where they get to get a little bit better rate. So some of them are contracted. I know all of them are not because there's so many different companies, but some of them are contracted through them.
So they're negotiating these on a case by case, I would imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get as much as they can because, again, we pay them off a percentage. So they're trying to get as much as they can collect in order to make back their percentage.
Hey, Chief, to piggyback on that, do you bill like a rescue fee for like car crashes and stuff like that too? Mm-hmm. You do? Okay. So for those that don't know, there are funds to be recouped there. It's not a lot of money, but when you establish incident command, block a scene, throw some absorbent down, there are provisions in your car insurance that do pay.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's policy limits.
Very much so, and they don't make it easy to get.
No, some are $250, some are $500. But for anybody who doesn't know, in your insurance policy for your vehicles, it's buried in there somewhere. That if you do get in a car accident and you do get billed by a fire department, they will cover a portion of it.
So you could actually see two bills come in through Lakes of the Four Seasons if you're in a car accident, if the ambulance transports you, and then the fire department end of the suppression end of things shows up and does that stuff. So if you ever see that,
submit it for insurance.
They're not trying to take advantage of you. It's just they're just trying to recoup something.
Recoup the cost of essentially what your insurance will pay. We don't go after anybody for the additional.
Right.
Because sometimes I've seen those bills for a couple $1,000s. And whatever the insurance will pay, that's what we'll accept. And that usually helps at least cover for like the absorbent that we throw down and at least a little bit of fuel. So it helps recoup some.
And same thing on the EMS side, where there are supplies that you have an exchange agreement with your hospitals, and then there are supplies where they're tough luck, you're on your own, I'm sure.
Yes.
Right, so.
Usually for an example, a cardiac arrest, if it is Medicare, it will cost us more than what we actually get.
Yes. Just because of what the cost of what things are.
The items that are used are very expensive, and the hospitals do not restock you with those. They'll give you the basics.
You still do that plan, that yearly plan?
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys gonna increase that or anything?
We have $5 or $10 over the last year or two. It's still positive. It's not negative. So we're still essentially profiting from it. We're not drawing out of it.
How do you profit from it though if you're only collecting, because you don't send them a bill, right?
So the insurance will get billed, but then the balance is wrote off.
Does everybody in here know about that program? If not, tell them.
The subscription program, the ambulance subscription program, it goes out in our annual letter usually every fall. October or September, October timeline. You get a letter in the mail, it'll have a form in there. It's the ambulance subscription program. Usually it's about $90 for an individual or about $110 for a family. And there are terms and conditions all written on it. But that is something to at least consider if you, I mean, yeah, per year.
Well, I mean, you're paying less than a deductible.
Yes.
And you're writing everything off on the homeowner, correct?
Mm-hmm. On that individual, correct. But usually our write-offs are not that much every year. So we're still able to.
But what I'm saying, you don't.
It doesn't
bill the customer anything more than that subscription fee, regardless of what the insurance pays, correct?
We'll take whatever the insurance pays.
And then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you don't call or you call 20 times, you're out $90 or 110.
Yep. That's. So you can. It comes in the mail. Yep.
Mass mailing.
I think another point though, Kevin, too, is that's considered a donation. So if I want to send you a check for $500 out of the kindness of my heart, that's a tax write-off.
Yes.
I'm making a donation.
Depending on how they want to change the tax laws.
Well, we won't talk about that, but
yeah.
Your standard deduction.
Yeah. That's, I think, the last point that I had for the night. Hopefully, with you guys being now, I think the majority pretty new in the last year, I'm hoping maybe we can do some educational sessions and question and answers and whatever you guys need to do to learn. And I know you guys kind of voted Rob down a little bit tonight on his suggestions, but I hope that you lean on him a lot and communicate well with him, because he's got all the time and the experience to offer. And it's very unbiased, because I know you're probably going to consider me biased, which is fine, because all I'm trying to do is advocate for our members and this community as we grow and what we need. So for all intents and purposes, I'm sorry I will be biased, but I'm trying to do the best that I can and suggest what the community will need for the long term, not the short term, because we're very far behind.
That's not biased. That's fiduciary.
Yeah, and to your point of being fiduciary, I feel that our department has done very well, doing the best we can with what we have, and essentially trying to.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
And I mean, our budget this year is $1.3 million. It's not a lot, it is a lot of money, but when you go to career departments and other even career departments, it's that's not even a quarter of some budgets.
Yeah.
So I hope that you guys can work together and hopefully come to a common goal. And our door's open, and we'd like to offer help. And if you guys have questions, I'm pretty sure you don't have my phone number, but
I'll find it.
yeah, you can find it. They've got it. So call
911. I can't believe no one else made the
Yeah.
joke to say 9. Made me do it.
Do you guys have any more questions?
No, but I know that we are planning a study session and a special meeting for the additional appropriation, so we're probably going to need you to be there for that one too.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's,
Plan not.
oh, we've got to send out the public notices and all that stuff, but you, what?
Not for the week of the 22nd.
Of July?
Yes.
Oh, July, we're not, yeah, no,
Okay.
it'll probably be in August. When are we thinking? Because we have to have advanced time to get the legal notices out for the additional appropriations and stuff. That's what we have to figure out what we've got to do, because right now it's kind of fluid.
Are we going to run into timeline issues with that engine payment, though, if we do that?
Yeah, you're gonna have.
No, I think we'll get it resolved here in the next couple of days, Rob.
Okay.
Oh, that's not part of what you're referring to?
No, no.
Okay.
Above and beyond.
Okay.
Yeah, it's control.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah. Is that all, Kevin?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Kevin.
No problem.
Thanks, Chief. Nice job.
So our attorney is not here this evening. He's actually on vacation in Florida, enjoying his time. So we'll have any reports from trustees, Rob?
Sure. I got a couple things. You know, I won't miss a chance to talk. Of course, I didn't write anything down. Shoot from the hip as usual. First off, Chief Harima, thank you for the report. Thank you for the vote of confidence, sir. I appreciate that. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I think you're a really good leader, and your team really does follow you, and that's impressive. So good job. Keep it up. I had the pleasure, well, not the pleasure, I shouldn't say that because it's not pleasant ever seeing this. The night of the 4th of July, I guess it would have been into the 5th, was it technically? I was enjoying myself in Lakes of the Four Seasons where I live, and I saw a lot of fire trucks and heard a lot of sirens. Curiosity killed the cat. I had to go look. Lo and behold, I found a house fire on the other side of the neighborhood from where I was at. I had to go look, so I walked up and to see what was going on, and they had staffed additional personnel that night because it was a holiday. They knew they were going to be busy. And it's hard to get those volunteers necessarily in on those holidays sometimes too, so they did the right thing and put extra people down. Sadly, a family's home was damaged to the point where I don't believe it's habitable right now from what I read. So that is awful. That is terrible. From what I understand, everyone was physically okay, which is what we hope for in these instances, aside from them not happening. The part that I was pleased with was to see how well that group worked together. They did an excellent job, in my personal and professional opinion. They worked incredibly hard, diligently. They were attentive to the family, attentive to the needs of the other responders from other communities that came. So, and I think, in my opinion, they made a pretty good stop on a fire that could have got away from them real quick. So good job to you and your group, Kev. What else was I going to say? Sorry. Somebody was asking early on when there was the open forum at the beginning, or the public comment section, about credentials. So I make no bones about it. I'm a 25-year career firefighter, 21 of those career. I'm a lieutenant with my current fire department. I am a rope, trench, confined space, structural collapse, hazmat, vehicle machinery technician. I'm a fire apparatus engineer, an advanced tech firefighter, still a paramedic in title. And that's all certified through the state of Illinois, on top of some other additional things. I'm on a few different special teams and many different various committees and fireman nerd stuff like that. So I think I earned a spot up here. So The move of this meeting, I completely oppose. I was the person who was not reached out to. I found out about it via rumor. I still do not support the move. I do believe we should be meeting where we represent. I do believe that doing this actually leaves our community at risk. We're bringing our responders that want to participate here away from where they need to protect. That would be like the Porter County Commissioners having their meeting in Indianapolis or Lake County. It just wouldn't happen. So I oppose that. I am going to be vocal about that. I think we should be in our area that we're charged with protecting. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you for everyone for attending. Please continue to attend these meetings. Please continue to inform yourselves. Please continue to pay attention what's going on in all levels of government and what the government is and is not doing for you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Niemeyer.
So being the new guy, I don't have a whole lot to say because we're just getting rolling on my end, but I am very optimistic to be here and work with this group. There's been a lot of things thrown out there, but I will assure you I'm very optimistic that we will get to a territory agreement of some sort. What that looks like, I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball. If I did, I'd go out and buy everybody the lottery tickets too. So I'm just excited to be here, and I look forward to rolling up my sleeves, getting in the trenches, and working with everyone here and getting some real work done. So,
Mr. Clower.
I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your report.
Mr. Kozmowski.
I'm also new, so I am dedicated to making the territory a realistic thing. It may take some time. I don't have any fire experience, but what I do have experience in is 35 years of capital budgeting, and I know how to work through problems when it comes to finances. I welcome the assistance of Senator Dalton as well, and going to work hard at this. Again, I live in the community too. I have the same concerns as you folks. And so I'm doing something about it. I joined this board voluntarily. So thank you for coming, and do the best we can.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you to all the residents that attended tonight. It's very much appreciated. I think the level of decorum here is the example that we should set for all of our meetings. That was not evident at the last couple of meetings. So I hope the tone of this meeting is the way everything's going to be moving going forward. That's what we're looking forward to. So we appreciate your consideration for that. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second?
second.
All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Daniel, can I borrow you to look at something real quick before you leave? I got to make something right.
This may be helpful to you. I don't hope we agree.
I know.
That establishes the budgets on the two